Hi, and welcome to another edition of Newsmakers Journal of the Variant Year. It is Friday, January 21st. I'm Jerry Roberts, and I am joined by our all-star panel of local journalists, Ryan P. Cruz of the Santa Barbara Independent, Nick Welsh, Santa Barbara's favorite columnist 2 years running, and Josh Molina, man of many platforms. I'll start with COVID. This Omicron thing is just really spiking like crazy. I guess it's turned down a little bit, but 150 people hospitalized, 96% of the ICU beds filled, 584 deaths total now. And this is all thanks to Newshawk's very good COVID newsletter. But the big problem this week, Nick, it sounds like, is the shortage of healthcare workers who either have COVID or are taking care of someone with COVID, and you, in fact, have COVID, which may be the top line headline. I don't know.
Does that make me a healthcare worker?
No, it doesn't. It makes you, well, in Ryan's story, which we'll get to later, you're either a past caregiver, a present caregiver, a future caregiver, or someone who needs care. So you are now someone who needs care.
Yeah, I think I was a pre-Alzheimer's boat. Yeah.
Anyway, talk about the shortage. What's going on?
Yeah, so I mean, a couple of weeks ago at the Board of Supervisors, Bob Nelson was talking about, we have more cases of COVID, but the hospitals aren't having more cases. And that just struck me as crazy at the time. So I called up Cottage and I called up Chuck Benzie over at the neighborhood clinics. Cottage has a shortage. They're down roughly 100 nurses who are either sick with, they're positive or infected, or they're taking care of family members who are sick or infected. Chuck Benzie over at the neighborhood clinics told me 33 of their workers are in the same boat, and that's about 20% of their labor force. One of their clinics, a smaller clinic, he told me they had to shut down completely because 2/3 of the workers were sick or taking care of somebody who was sick. So, the reality with this Omicron is that everybody's getting it, whether you've got, like in my case, I was vaccinated twice. I got the 1-2 punch and then I got the booster, but I managed to pick it up anyway. It's not anything particularly, egregious in terms of the symptoms, but it does knock you out and it inconveniences you. And if you look, I'm not a healthcare worker, but 100 people, 100 nurses at Cottage, that's a significant number. They're already dealing with a shortage as it is. They're always, trying to hire new ones. So those are significant numbers at a time when, you're seeing, a significant rise in the number of people who are hospitalized in the ICUs.
Yeah. And we appreciate you posting that picture of yourself the first day that you had COVID behind you there, Nick. That's a kind of a scary look. But so what does that mean? Are they, what it just means more patients per nurse, I guess, on the regular floors and more people put over to COVID duty, or what?
Yeah, the real answer is I don't know, and I could speculate all day long, but so I keep it short. But what it means is that, for a lot of people who have procedures or things they need to tend to, they have to wait. I have a brother with cancer or getting over cancer down in LA, and he was supposed to go in for procedure this week, and they said, sorry, dude, you gotta wait. So, a lot of people are going to have the sorry, dude, you gotta wait situation.
Yeah. And a lot of appointments being canceled, as you say, for outpatient stuff. All right. Now, in terms of the economic impact, the latest, Josh, the city council rode to the rescue when the pandemic started and opened up State Street, as we famously know. But now it turns out what they've done is pretty much illegal because it's not wide enough for fire equipment. But the restaurateurs are not happy about this.
Yeah, so apparently they're in violation of state law because you need 20 feet down the middle for fire vehicle access, and they don't. They measured it for about 14.6 feet. It's more than that in some areas, maybe a little bit less. And so now the city and the State Street Subcommittee and Jason Harris and the staff, they're like, we got to make this right. We're going to extend it, right? We'll extend the outdoor dining ordinance, but you're going to have to make some changes. You're going to have to make them portable, and you're going to have to open it up. And this has really not gone over well with the restaurant owners because one, there was this meeting last Saturday, or it was Friday, a week ago. Bob Stout, Wildcat, a bunch of business owners. Jason Harris made a presentation, handed them a draft ordinance. They were not included at all in the conversations about whether this was a thing that they
Well,
wanted
this
to
was
do.
just generated by staff, basically.
Yeah, generated by staff. And of course, they're freaked out. They're appreciative that the city reacted really quickly at the beginning of the pandemic, but now they're trying to take it away. Some of these restaurants have spent tens of thousands of dollars for their outdoor dining. So not only do they have to make it portable, but they also have to create this lane in the middle. So
We'll have to
this is
spend
all-
tens of thousands more to fix it, basically.
Yeah, so this is gonna explode at the council meeting. They're gonna be talking about this on the 25th, Tuesday, and it's gonna be lots of discussion about what the future holds here. Oscar Gutierrez has been trying to get involved in here. 400 block is in his district. He's sort of
Carrying
complicated.
water for a real estate owner, Ray Maboob, yes.
So he's trying to get involved here, and he's saying, hey, while we're having this conversation, why don't we open State Street to pedestrians on the 400 block too? So close it to cars, because we had that restaurant go out of business. There's a lot of storefronts that are vacant on the 400 block. So let's be included in this conversation
But
as well.
apparently the adult bookstore is still thriving. Is that right? Gateway to Santa Barbara, the adult
The
bookstore.
adult bookstore is the longest continuous running business in Santa Barbara. I don't think they sell any books, is what I've been told. I would not know.
All right, so this is a big deal, and it's kind of going to be Randy Rouse's first conflict that he's facing. A former restaurateur himself, ran on a pro-business platform, but it's a public safety issue, which he also kind of tried to gin up his credentials on. So how's he going to handle this, you think?
I think he's going to listen to the fire chief. He's going to listen to Public Works, and he's going to listen to Rebecca Bjork and the city administrator. I think they are pushing hard for this access. And what do they have to fall back on? Oh, well, it's state law anyway. So I think Randy's probably going to be stuck a little bit, but he's going to side with safety and access. And this will probably annoy some of the restaurants. He's never been in favor of removing cars permanently. That changed a little bit in the campaign. I think he said now he's more open to it, but we do know that initially he had some concerns about whether that was the right route. They want to do parades. We haven't had a Fiesta parade, no holiday parade this year, 4th of July parade. Making them portable would allow for that to return. And as we know, that is a significant income for some of these nonprofit organizations and the businesses. So It's going to get real complicated here again, really quickly.
And then yes or no, will Oscar get his way on the 400 block of State Street?
Doubt it. Yeah, I don't think so. I think that there's been study of it. Maybe there's some
public safety will prevail again on that.
Maybe there'll be some compromise, some way to figure out a way to meet in the middle, have it closed sometimes. I don't know, but I don't hear a lot of other people talking about it other than the people with interest on that block.
Yeah. All right. I want to say that this week's copy of The Independent is just really outstanding. And if you haven't picked it up or read it online, you should, because it contains a number of what I would call perceptual scoops, which are kind of really important stories that are kind of hiding in plain sight, and they connect data points on it. One of them is oil dead in Santa Barbara. We'll get to that in a minute. But the other is by Ryan, which is these really scary projections about Alzheimer's and how it's going to afflict Santa Barbara going forward.
Yeah, and you're talking about Alzheimer's. That's already the third leading cause of death in California, only behind heart disease and cancer. And
I did not know that. Did you know that, Nick? I didn't.
I read it in Ryan's article.
Yeah.
yes, and so there's an estimated, I think, 660,000 people affected today, and they're expecting that in the next 20 years to go up to 1.5 million.
And how many in Santa Barbara?
In Santa Barbara, I think it's about 8,000 right now, and then 20% of that is Hispanic in the Hispanic community, and that is where they're seeing that they're thinking that's going to be a growth, and Hispanics are already 1.5 times more likely to get the symptoms of Alzheimer's and dementia, and so those numbers were the ones that the Alzheimer's Association really wants to concentrate on providing services in these communities that are going to need them in the future.
And what was the call to action that they put out? Are they saying we are not equipped or prepared to deal with this kind of caseload of Alzheimer's, and therefore something needs to happen? What needs to happen?
I think with the prevalence, they just want to make sure everybody is kind of on the lookout and getting checked. If you have any sort of symptoms of early onset, or if you're approaching 65, to kind of keep a check on those people that are around you. And one thing that I learned the most from that is how they concentrate on the caregivers, because the caregivers are really the ones that are affected the most, and they kind of shoulder the burden of watching somebody they love kind of slowly deteriorate and still have to care for them, and with all these changes that are happening.
Yeah, the family caregivers, and that was the Rosalind Carter quote that I referenced in.
Yeah, there's that Rosalind Carter quote that everybody's going to need to be a caregiver, and I need a caregiver, or I forget the whole quote, but it's something along those lines.
Has been a caregiver.
Yeah.
Yeah. And is this primarily, would you say, Ryan, the fault of the baby boomers?
I don't know who's at fault. I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into it. They're really trying to study why it's more prevalent in Hispanic communities. There's been different studies in South America and things like that, where some communities are genetically disposed to early onset. So they just want to make sure people are keeping a lookout on that. And it's something that's not curable. They treat the symptoms in different ways. Just if people are anxiety, and there's anti-anxiety, there's antidepressants they can use, things for muscle control. The only thing that they can really FDA approved is in trials right now. And that really, it only affects people that are available for trials, which usually isn't Black and brown populations.
Yeah.
So in what you were reading, Ryan, is the age when people get it lowering? Are people getting it younger, or is it just that people are living older?
So they're finding more cases of onset, but they're thinking that might be more along, same thing with COVID, where the more testing and more people are getting checked earlier, the numbers are going to kind of reflect that, and they're going to get more numbers. So they're not sure right now. Alzheimer's Association is one of the biggest research branches in the world in Alzheimer's. So they're always kind of researching this, and that's one of their focuses, and why these communities affected more.
And I have to say, and I mean this pretty seriously, when you had the list of symptoms, I kind of gulped, because you can see them weekly on the popular Newsmakers show, exhibited by not only the genial host, but a number of our guests. Hey, Nick.
Jerry, you're showing signs of something. I don't know what it is with that ridiculous 49er jersey.
Hey,
I mean,
go Niners. We're going to talk about Niners.
they're not even going to score a touchdown against Green Bay.
Oh, okay. Let's
Give
put
me a
some money
break,
on.
dude.
Let's
They
put some
shouldn't
money
even be
on that.
there.
Let's put some money on that. Yeah, because the Cowboys played so well. Hey, Nick, the other thing, the cover story, I think the headline is oil dead in Santa Barbara, or is the oil industry dead? And you make a pretty compelling case that it is in advance of the what anniversary is this of the spill on January 28th?
This is anniversary 53 that's coming up on January 28th of Santa Barbara's great oil spill of 1969, where that they gave rise to the EPA and CEQA and the environmental movement. So we decided to jump the gun by about 3 weeks. And we
I thought it was January 28th. Is that not?
Yeah, it's January
Only
28th.
a week.
Okay, it's only a week. And there was a lot happening all at once where, a number of years ago, what we were talking about all the time was all these massive projects out for Cache Canyon. And that was going to be 700,000 metric tons of greenhouse gases a year. And that was the big boogeyman. And those have all disappeared for the time being. They're not dead, but they're somnolent. You're getting into decommissioning of some of the rigs off the coast. And then you got Exxon.
What was it? Gene Yamamura.
Gene Yamamura
Really
wrote
interesting
that.
story about the.
And then you got
platform.
Exxon, the big bad boogeyman, in terms of climate change denial, in terms of being the single biggest producer of greenhouse gases in Santa Barbara County. And sort of quietly and unobtrusively, it is almost about to be put out of everybody's misery. The Santa Barbara supervisors are going to have a vote. Are you going to allow Exxon to truck its oil to market? And right now, I don't think the votes are there to say yes. I think it's a 3-2 vote.
Oh,
to
it's
say
kind of
no.
kabuki theater, isn't it? I mean, well, the planning commission said no,
The
and
planning commission said no, and I don't see the supervisors changing that. And so this is a proposal, to truck oil for up to 7 years, or until the Plains All-American pipeline can be replaced. And that thing is so far off into the future, we can only guess when it's going to get built, but it's indefinite.
I was
If ever.
astonished to read in your story that took place in 2015, because it
I
seems
know,
like
remember that.
such a recent thing, but I guess it's because so many events have spun off it, or the inability to rejuvenate the oil
Yeah.
here.
Well, one of the things that I was struck by, in doing the story is the extent to which Exxon is being, the plug is being pulled on Exxon, not by the environmental movement, but by other oil companies. There's 3 of them, who really have made life miserable for Exxon.
Yeah. And so and Tyler's story was focused on what?
He was focusing on Cache Canyon.
Cat Canyon, and Gene wrote about the platforms and decommissioning or not.
Yeah.
And you had the Exxon piece. A really good package. And anybody who wants to have an instant education about the oil industry in Santa Barbara, I would recommend it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, it was good. It really was good. And Ryan, I second the motion on that for your piece too. So Josh, the mighty Historic Landmarks Commission tackled the issue of De La Guerra Plaza this week, and I know you advanced it. I assume you watched the hearing too. Are they anywhere close to approving, they or anybody, including the council, a revamp of the plaza, or is it just going to stay the way it is?
Well, there's been a lot of progress. Initially, they had proposed a plan. The city did, and it was shot down by the HLC. And now there's been a specific De La Guerra Plaza committee that has been working to kind of iron out some of these issues. And they have a couple members of the HLC on it. So the goal is by the time it goes ready for final approval, it'll be ready to go. Right now, the issues are there's a water feature, some call it a splash pad. It's a couple feet of water shooting out.
That violates the Historic Landmarks Commission ban on having fun. Yes.
There's some concern that it could be a distraction or maybe an attraction to some populations. It can be turned on and off, and it's low. It's not going to be a big deal like you see in some malls. So they're still in the concept review process. They're still reviewing this. How long is it going to take? It'll probably take a while. I don't think all the players in De La Guerra Plaza are on board.
Yeah, your former employer being one.
Yes, your former employer being one. So I think we'll have to wait to see what happens of that. There's going to be new bathrooms that are going to be there. It's going to be a stage. They're going to flatten it out. Old Spanish Days is in support of this. It's going to make for sort of a better scene for the mercados. It's going to be a good thing, probably, depending on your perspective. Eventually, we really don't know what it's finally going to look.
Hey, Nick, you know what surprised
you
me?
watch-
Nick,
One of the good things about having COVID is that you actually have time to watch Historic Landmarks Commission meetings.
talk about
I
Lanny.
watched-
Talk
I
about
watched it.
Lanny.
I watched about 8 hours of it, and I can tell you, those are the guys who are calling the shots on this. They have the final say unless it gets appealed to the council. And a majority of them bring back the grass. We want the grass. We hate the arcade, and we hate the splash pads. So they like the general idea of having it closed off the traffic. They like the idea of having it all, one level. But other than that, man, this plan got zero love. It was brutal.
They're not going to win this one, Nick.
Who's
they-
they?
they- yes,
Who's they? Oh, the commission?
The commission, they're not going to win this one. The
Did
council.
you listen to Lanny Evanstein? Did you listen to Lanny?
That's what struck me in your piece was Lanny really went off on the lawn versus one of my favorite words, hardscape.
Lanny sounded like Charlton Heston about you'll take this gun out of my hands when you pry it out of my cold dead fingers.
We'll take this grass away.
There will be a lawn.
And what was the input of the largest employer there on De La Guerra Plaza?
Well, the people asked a lot about have you talked to the news press? And Brad Hess, who is the city planner who's in charge of this, say, I keep trying, and they have yet to reciprocate.
Shocker. All right. So Nick, you noted in your piece that this has been an ongoing issue going back to the earthquake of 1925.
Yeah.
And at one point they were going to build a fallout shelter there.
My favorite. So they've been arguing about this stuff since 1924. And it's sort of like,
and you were
everybody's
at
living
that
room
hearing, right? I think you were.
He just got started.
And they never could resolve the argument. Something else would come back, and they would always keep finding other different ideas. But my favorite, 1963, they thought, let's have a big, giant fallout shelter for when they drop the nuclear bomb. We can all be underground in De La Guerra Plaza.
It seems so funny now, but
How many people would have been able to go down there?
That is a great question. That is really the question. And
the entire
like
city
100.
staff
Who
and
made the
every
list?
member of SEIU, I guarantee you would have had a spot reserved for them. All right, I want to talk a little bit of politics just to close out. And first of all, I made a hideous factual error. I had a brain freeze last week in saying that Greg Hart could win the assembly race in the primary. But of course, I was thinking of local rules, not state rules. And so there will be a runoff for that. So I guess.
Did somebody
Josh-
actually email you that, Jerry?
Oh, yes.
Somebody actually correct you on that detail?
They
I
did.
can't believe-
And although I woke up at 3:00 in the morning on Saturday,
course.
and so why did I say that? Anyway, be that as it may. So Greg will have a runoff opponent. And who is that most likely to be? Jonathan?
Jonathan is possibly, probably, likely going to get out of the race. I don't know. I think he's smart enough to know, just from the rumors I hear, not hearing it from Jonathan, that why challenge the party favorite there. So I don't know who that's going to be. Maybe Charles Cole will get back in the
What
race.
about your guy, Gabe?
Hopefully not.
What about your guy, Gabe?
Yeah, Gabe's going to run. Yeah,
I don't think he's going to back out.
He'll
Gabe's-
run.
Gabe's very qualified. It's just an issue of timing for Gabe. He'll win something someday, but it's going to be really hard to beat Greg Hart. So I don't know who is going to emerge forward other than some phantom celebrity.
Actually, Charles Cole might get back in, and he would.
He'd make the runoff if he
would
did.
make the runoff just like he did last time. Yeah, exactly. And then in terms of the race to replace Greg, I strongly believe and therefore assert that Laura Capps will in fact run. She's gonna have to move about 3 blocks according to the new map, but I think that that will happen. So, Josh, you talked last time about Cruz possibly being the party foil put up to stop Laura. Is that still on?
Wow, is that a narrative, Jerry? Oh my goodness, the party foil to stop Laura. That's how we're looking at politics now.
Well, that's exactly what it is. You know that's what it is. You know, Doss and Darcell are desperately trying to find somebody. Greg
Luce would not have to move 3 blocks. Let's just say that.
I'm not advocating for anyone. I'm just saying that's how it is.
Oh yeah. Well, okay. So yeah, I don't know if Luce is going to run or not. I think it's sort of back and forth. If she does not run, the party definitely will probably try to find a candidate that they want to be in that seat. I don't think Laura is going to be that candidate. I don't know.
Isn't that just, Nick, isn't that just about the dumbest thing you've ever heard? I mean, why would the Democratic Party not endorse Laura Capps except for peak on certain people who got challenged?
I noticed you asked Nick this question and not me, but go ahead, Nick.
Well, you're in the tank. Well, you're in the tank.
I think there's.
I am not in the tank. I just report the facts.
You're in the tank for Duraka. Come on.
How many times can you bash SEIU in one show, Jerry? Who's in what tank? Go ahead.
Nick, I'm sorry. Josh is out of order.
I think they're going to.
I'm sorry that someone like me tried to overspeak on you. I apologize. I'll assume my place now.
What you're saying there? Josh didn't get to talk enough today. He's cranky about
it. He's upset because he didn't watch the Historic Landmarks Commission meeting, and he had to answer as if he had.
Nick only knew about the Historic Landmarks Commission because I wrote about it beforehand. But go ahead.
You are right. You are right.
Just indulge me here and return to the question.
Here's what I predict: the Democratic Party will, in fact, endorse Laura Capps for that position.
Oh, you heard it here first.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now, the other really interesting campaign election story is going to be the school board, because there's two members up, but they're going to get districts, and the districts have not yet been decided. There's no primary for that race, so there's not a huge rush. But for example, Laura and Kate Ford live in the same proposed district right now, which, because Laura would still be holding the seat, Kate says she would not be allowed to run. Is that true?
Probably. It sounds true. I mean, I think we saw some of that with the redistricting in the county. So I don't know, but Laura's probably not going to be in that seat anyway, right?
She's probably also not going to resign it until she is elected. And then I think Wendy Sims Moten and Rose and Virginia also all live in the same district, the proposed district, which would be a problem for Rose to try to do that, since both Wendy and Virginia would. Do you know where we are in the process of that, Josh? Have they talked about it? It just doesn't seem like it's just been so far below the radar, but it's kind of a big deal.
I have not been reported on that. I know another reporter at Newshawk has. I don't know if the Indy has, but I mean, it sounds like that's why we need district elections, because we have people from only certain parts of the city who are representing the entirety of the board. But I don't know what that means.
Ryan, you write about this stuff. I mean, if you look at the school board is practically a model of diversity and inclusion. Is it not? And equity. Come on. There's no
call
men.
Each other the sisterhood, Jerry.
There's no men, that's true, but we make up for it here with our mansplaining editions every now and again. No, I'm serious. I mean, I don't know. And they're going to have, I predict, if they go to 7 seats, which they're talking about, they're going to have trouble getting people to run, because that is a terrible job. You get your $50 a month or whatever it is, and a lot of grief from James Fankner, and That's the job description for that job. All right, Ryan, what are you working on for next time?
Well, we got a couple different stories coming up. I'm gonna do a little profile on the new multi-use path. There's two multi-use paths. There's the one over Carperia, and there's the one over by Las Positas. So I'm gonna kind of follow along what's happening with that. Then me and June have also been working on June did a really good story about the housing last week, and we're gonna be kind of following on different housing situations with landlords.
The renters protest.
Well, the trailer park in the east side. That was, they're living in some pretty bad
Really
conditions.
bad.
And so
All
we're
right,
following
Nick.
with that this next week.
Nick, how long are you quarantined for?
I think to the middle of next week.
So you're a
10
10-day
days.
guy,
I got
not
a
a
10-day
5-day?
sentence.
10-day, not 5?
Yeah.
I thought that the CDC had reduced it to 5.
You know what? Here's the deal. All this stuff is it 5 days? Is it 10 days? If you are infected, which I am positive, then you have to do it for 10 days. If you come into contact with somebody, you're good for 5. I mean, the whole thing is nuts. I mean, and then the testing is weird too. So when I first started, got it, I did a home test, the antigen test. I said, don't worry about it, dude, you're negative. I didn't believe it. So I went into the drive-through at Sansom. Sure enough, I was positive. So the answers are all over the map.
Yeah, and
But
of course,
10 days.
every family is entitled to, every household to 4 free tests from the United States government, and you can go online and get those. Josh, who'd you have on the podcast this time?
I had Austin Herlihy, who's was talking about the big hotel. He's a commercial real estate broker, and he was talking about the hotel boom on State Street. There was the sale of the Hotel Indigo, and we've seen a lot of movement. So he was just talking about the business of hotels and how they've actually come out of COVID more valuable.
Yeah, the TOT tax is pretty good. The revenue, of course, they raised it by.
Yeah, well, they have the flexibility to raise room rates. So, you know, whether it's inflation or whatever the costs are, they just bump them up. They can, and if there's a market, which there is, then TOT tax is doing well. So he was just talking about how it was a cash sale. They had 11 offers. This thing sold for about $19 million in 45 days or something like that. So that's what the podcast is about, just
Right,
more downtown State Street.
sbtalks.com. Check it out. All right, Ryan Cruz, Nick Welsh, up from his sickbed. Really heroic, really heroic. There'll be a bonus in your check this time. And Josh Molina, thanks so much for taking the time. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Oh, we didn't talk about the Niners are going to open a can of whoop ass on the Packers, Nick, but we'll just leave that here.
Yeah, I think you need to go reread Ryan's article.
A little bit of confusion going on over there.
I don't remember reading it.
I think you have a little cognitive dissonance happening there. You must be thinking about the 80s.
Well, Steve Young, he's gonna play great.
Steve Young's gonna kick Brett Favre's ass.
All right. Thanks, guys. I'll talk to you soon.